Okay, so you're supposed to factor these. So this first one says factor x squared plus 8x minus 20. So that's when you're supposed to make it go into these parentheses. Or you're supposed to do this. Okay, so I take the first thing, which is x squared, and the last, which is negative 20, and I multiply those together. That makes negative 20x squared. And I look at the middle number, which is 8. So I say, what multiplies to be negative 20 and combines to make a positive 8, which means my bigger number needs to be positive. Okay, so my bigger number needs to be positive. So I'm going to go negative 1 and 20, negative 2 and 10. So these multiply to be 20. 3 doesn't, negative 4 and 5, and that's it. So which one of these combines to be 8? So these two, 20 plus negative 1 makes 19. 10 plus negative 2 is 8. Oh, so there it is. So that's negative 2x and 10x. So it's x minus 2 and x plus 10. So that's what goes in here is x minus 2 and x plus 10. So really these ones that have a leading coefficient of 1, um, really all you're doing is saying what multiplies to be the last number and they have to combine to make the middle number. So in this box you would put x plus 10 and x minus 2. And that would be your answer for that one. Okay, so for this next one, factor x squared plus 17x plus 42. So again, I'm saying what multiplies to be 42 and adds to be 17. So since this is a positive and a positive, both of these are positive. Okay, on the one above, this was a negative on the end. So that means one's negative and one is positive. And the middle one tells me the bigger number is that sign. So down here, they're both positive. So 1 and 42, well, that combines to be 43, so that didn't work. 2 and 21, that combines to be 23, that's closer. 3 and 14, that works. So that means that this factors to be x plus 3 and x plus 14. So now for the next question. Number 3, it says factor this one. So this has a number in front, but there's not a middle term. Well, that's really nice, especially when these are numbers squared, like 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25, 6 squared is 36, and so forth. So when these are both squared numbers like they are, so 7 squared is 49, 8 squared is 64. So this is really 8 times 8, and that's 5 times 5. Whenever it's that way, all that it is it's what times what? 64? 8x and 8x. Since this is a negative on the end, I know one's positive and one's negative. What multiplies to be 25? 5 and 5. And those are my answers. 8x plus 5 and 8x minus 5. Okay. So now in question 4, it's the same thing. Notice that 49 is 7 squared and 16 is 4 squared. So what multiplies to be 49? Well, that's 7x and 7x. And the 49 was first, so the 7x and 7x is first. What multiplies to be 16? Well, that's 4 and 4. And since it's a minus at the end, one of these is positive and one of them is negative. And then it's just 4 and 4. So whenever these are both squared numbers and it's a minus between them, and this is a squared and then there's not another x term, it always factors out to be the same thing with a different sign. They actually call those conjugate pairs. Okay. All right, so that's the first 4. So let's scroll on down to the next one. Question number 5, it says to factor this one. So again, it's a minus on the end, so it has to multiply to be negative 70 and add to be 33. So that means my bigger number is positive, and because the end number was negative, one's positive and one's negative. So multiplies to be 70, negative 1 and 70, negative 2 and 35. 35 minus 2 is 33, so there's the one that I'm after. So that means my factors are x minus 2 and x plus 35. So that multiplies to be negative 70, and it combines to make 33, which is the middle number. So x minus 2 and x plus 35. Now in question 6, it says solve, and it says equals 0. So there's an important idea with this. If I have a times b equals 0, well, the only way I can get 0 as an answer if I'm multiplying two things is if one of these two is 0. So 0 times b is still 0. And a times 0 is also 0. So I don't know which one is 0. It could be both of them, but I don't know. And so what we do is we say either b equals 0, which is this one, or a equals 0. So I have two things. This is like a and this is like b. So I say 5x plus 1 equals 0, or x minus 3 equals 0. And now I just solve each of those. So once we've got them factored, we just put each factor equal to 0. So I minus 1 minus 1. So 5x equals negative 1. Divide it by 5. And x equals negative 1/5. And if you type that into your calculator, it comes out to be negative 0.2. Make sure you put the 0 in on when you're typing this. Make sure you go negative 0.2. Okay. Then on this one, we add the 3 and we add the 3. So x equals 3. All right. So let's move on down. That's 5 through 6, 5 and 6. Now let's do 7 and looks like we won't get to 8 on this. We'll get to it eventually. So this has 4 of them. It's still the same thing. I just put each of those equal to 0. So I put every one of those factors equal to 0. Okay? And now I'm going to solve each one of these. So I divide it by 3. 0 divided by 3 is 0. So over here, I minus the 2 to get rid of the plus 2. So I have 5x equals negative 2. Divide it by 5, and x equals negative 2/5, which if I type that in the calculator is negative 0.4. On this one, I add the 7. So I have 6x equals 7. So x equals 7 divided by 6. So I'm going to type that in the calculator. Seven divided by 6. 1.16 forever. So 1.16 forever. So, and it says to round to the nearest hundredth, which is the second one, so 1.17. So now in this one, I minus the 3. So 2x equals negative 3. Divide it by 2, and x equals negative 3 halves, which is negative 1.5. So those are my answers that I'm going to plug in here. Okay. So that's that problem. Question number 8. So I have 2 of them, so I'm just going to go 2x minus 1 equals 0, and 3x plus 1 equals 0 because it says solve and it says equals 0. So I take each factor, put it equal to 0. I add 1, so 2x equals 1. Divide it by 2, and x equals 1/2, which is 0.5. Then on this one, I minus the 1. So 3x equals negative 1. Divide it by 3. X equals negative 1/3. When I divide that, I get negative 0.333 forever. So negative 0.33 to the hundredths. Okay. So now question 9. So I put, says solve this, and it's equal to 0. So I just put each of those equal to 0. So 2x plus 4 equals 0. 3x minus 5 equals 0. X plus 1 equals 0. And 5x equals 0. So now I just minus the 4 over. So 2x equals negative 4. Divide it by 2, and x equals negative 2. To get rid of the minus 5, I add 5. So 3x equals 5. divide it by 3, and x equals 5/3, which when I type into the calculator is 1.666666666 forever, or I round it to 2 decimal places, 1.67. On this one, to get rid of the plus 1, I minus the 1, so x equals -1. And on this one, I divide it by 5, and 0 divided by anything is still 0. So that's that question. And now the last one, question number 10. I was trying to go for 10 minutes on the video, but I went a little long. So it says solve, put each of those equal to 0. So I have x minus 4 equals 0, and 3x plus 5 equals 0. So I add 4 and I add 4. X equals 4. On this one, I minus the 5 to get rid of the plus 5. So 3x equals -5. Divide it by 3. So x equals -1.67 when you type it in your calculator. So -1.67 and 4. So anyways, that's what that one looks like, and good luck to you on it.